Alright guys, so we are back in Insomnia here, and again I'm going to be doing the next mission that is on the list. I'm going to go ahead and pop open my journal here and we'll kind of figure out what's going on here. So it looks like they want us to go to Zone D96 and find out what's going to happen on the patrol that's going on over there. And I'm still losing quite a few frames anytime that the game actually slows down. What I notice when I actually run GPU-Z is that it seems like my card seems to clock down during the exact moment that it does that. So not exactly the best and not, fun times. Before, I used to use this AMD utility called Clock Blocker, which actually allows you to, lock in and select clock speed for the card, and then it stays at that card basically all the time. Unfortunately, now that the newer releases of the AMD's drivers came out, it makes it like a lot more difficult to do that kind of stuff. So it's not really ideal. It tends to, the last time I did this, it ended up blue screening my computer, so not a whole lot of fun. But let's see what the deal is here as far as, where they want us to go. And actually, I guess, yeah, it looks like they want us to go to D96, so we'll check out what's going on in this section. I actually don't remember this mission too much from my first playthrough, so this will be kind of interesting. I think that this might have been one of the ones where there is a bunch of bots that attack you, but I could be wrong. And then there's some kind of funky stuff that happens in there towards the end, so I'm not going to spoil anything because it is actually kind of a, if I remember this mission correctly, it's fairly crucial to the story of the game, specifically what happens after the mission, to be more precise, because that's really like the turning point here. Let's see if I've got anything to sell to this guy right here. Potentially I might have some stuff that I want to let go of, but maybe not, we'll see. So actually I do have a bunch of grenades, I have some Cryoma stuff, but really nothing too important for this guy. So we can probably just get out of here really quick and get on with the mission itself. So let's take a look here. Hopefully the travel time won't be too bad this time around, but I can't really guarantee anything, you guys, because it honestly just seems to be completely random. Sometimes you travel and you run into a bunch of random stuff, sometimes you don't. It's completely bizarre and totally randomized, all these encounters. What I also noticed is that they tend to recycle a lot of the same sort of stops, but they'll just change the position of the enemies on you, which is a pretty good way of doing encounters. I guess probably a lot of, a lot of RPGs do it somewhat similar. I do kind of wish that they had random gen some of these, as opposed to just, straight up copying and pasting the levels, but like I said in my first stream for this game, it's a very small team. I think there were like maybe 14 or 30 people, like tops. So a very small team working on the game, considering like the amount of content that you actually get out of it. It's, pretty incredible. And so let's see, yeah, I think that this is one of those really funky areas, and I'm actually surprised that I didn't end up running into any of those ghosts. So let's see, yep, these guys are like, we need some help, because there's some robots that are attacking. And let's see, I guess there's not too much that I can really find around here. Okay, so I think that might be one of those things that gives me some computer tech, potentially. Let's take a look. Or no, I guess it's just a book. So I'll read that. And then I do have my skill upgrade available, but I think I want to hold off onto that because there's actually something that I wanted to pick up. If I can remember what it was. I don't remember if it was healing speed or if it was resistance that I really wanted to pick up next. Maybe I'll get the one that gives me defense against gunshots. That one seems like a pretty good one to have. And then there's one of those guys over there already. I'm actually unbelievably missing this bot completely from the rifle. So I guess I'm just going to try and use the 7, and hopefully I have enough cartridges in here to actually make this work. down the sound from the headphones too, because that's kind of interfering, no doubt. Wow, this guy is still not getting hit. That's kind of ridiculous. Oh, there we go. Now he's pissed. And there's going to be a bunch more of them in here too. Oh, there's a turret. Thankfully, the turrets I don't think reach out to you very far, so I should be able to take them out from range. One thing I kind of wish that this game had was automatic reloads, but I guess there's probably a reason why I decided not to go for that. And there's the jam. Looks like I'm going to be needing to repair this rifle pretty soon. It's already in bad condition. So let's see. I'm going to just kind of get out of combat here. And then we'll see what we can do about fixing this guy up. Do I even have, of course, I don't have enough parts just by a little bit to be able to fix it. So yeah, once it kind of gets down into like the 3 and 2s, pretty much you end up just having the rifle jam on you all the time. It's actually quite frustrating. But, you know, it is what it is, and it does make for a more realistic game, so there is that part to it as well. Oh man, these guys are, there's 2 of them now. I don't know if they're actually going to get a whole lot closer. I guess they might be. Oh, that's a surprise, all things considered. So that takes care of that dude. Wow, I can't believe I'm actually missing him so much. It's a huge waste of ammo right there. And those rounds were damn expensive too. Let's see what we can dig up from these guys. And I should not have stepped into that. Jesus Christ. Actually, I'm gonna... I guess I can probably continue for now, but that really sucks. That means I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of broth healing myself. Okay, so this guy, I believe, also attacks me as well. Actually, maybe he doesn't. Maybe I'll be able to get away with it this time. So let's see how far back I was, because I actually don't really feel like wasting all that much health. The one thing that really sucks is that the health packs in this game, or the broth, is actually super expensive. So anytime that you screw up majorly, it like costs a ton of money to get yourself healed up properly. So that's the one really serious downside there to this whole endeavor. Unfortunately, I don't know how much better I'll be able to do this time. Yep, and so I pretty much immediately take damage. It's not from those guys, it's from the turret. This is actually relatively okay with this, as opposed to how much damage I took before. I might end up having just the same amount of damage by the time I'm done. Yeah, so it looks like the previous strategy that I had was actually better, arguably, in some ways. So this might be a really long and potentially really crappy stream if this ends up, you know, going this way. But this whole kind of little area is a little bit frustrating because you don't actually really fight that many of these bots throughout the rest of the campaign. This is only like the one major section where you actually run into them for an extended period of time, and that, you know, really sucks because you know, this whole area is just robots left and right. Let's see if I can... Okay, so looks like there's one of those floating bots again. Let's see if I can take him out from the range. And that's already 10 times better than how I was doing before, since I'm not wasting my pistol ammo unnecessarily. And then typically, if the music is playing, you can't save. But then as soon as the music stops, usually you are able to save again. Yes, it looks like it's still going, probably because one of those other security bots is still floating around back there. I'm going to go ahead and save here for now. We'll see where the other guy is and make sure I not walk into that lava again. And there's the turret. So potentially, what I'm going to try and do, since I have the grenade, I might as well give that a shot and just see run back and chill back here so I can get rid of the bot. Looks like he's preoccupied with the repairing robot. Actually takes some time while he's back there hopefully taking it. Of course, the downside is that now they're totally onto me. Let's see if I can't take them out one by one while they're closer. Actually, that was super close. Wow, that's unbelievable. See if I can't use my shotgun on these guys. Hopefully they don't get too close. Oh, there we go. That did some good damage to the monsters. Oh, that was a nice dodge right there. And I got my buddy helping me out, which is perfect. So that was actually really well done because I basically didn't lose any health that time around, which obviously helps. Now this next section gets kind of tricky. I don't know how much actual health I'll be able to save because they kind of have like these turrets that are a little bit too far away for you to really do anything with them. But just goes to show you, like, sometimes having the grenades actually really helps on certain missions, because if there's some enemy that is hidden behind some really sketchy piece of cover and you just can't get to them, basically the only way that you're gonna get them is with grenades. I mean, you know, I know it's like super, you know, common sense stuff, but you know, unfortunately in this game, grenades are pretty freaking expensive unless you actually build them yourself, and even then, like, sometimes just getting the components for them can be super pricey too. And I think there might be mines in this area. I don't remember 100%, so you guys will just have to kind of bear with me here. And I also want to say that these repair bots turn evil on you at some point later on as well, so that doesn't really make life any easier. I'll tell you guys that much right now. I guess I went straight for the getter there, which is kind of weird, but okay. Let's see if I can steal some ammo out of this turret here. I'm just gonna keep my shotgun out because I think at some point these guys kind of sneak up on you. And actually, this is a really cool little moment where it shows you some inverse kinematics on the soldier's legs right there. It's kind of nice. I don't know if that's actually baked into Unreal Engine or if that's something that they added personally themselves. Still kind of cool though, nonetheless. And of course, I can't open that thing because I don't have that skill yet. So let's see. Now these boxes right here, you actually never want to hide behind these because they will break pretty much instantaneously after being fired upon. And this piece of cover is actually pretty low because my head's exposed. But I think I might actually be able to get away with this area here. I don't remember where exactly the turrets are. I know that some of these little guys here come out from that section. Actually, I'm gonna say I want to blow this guy up. Comes to life. Okay, so I think, yep, the repair bots are now angry with me, which sucks. I'm gonna try and get around them here. Looks like he's super angry with me, actually, so I'm just gonna run back to these guys over here, and then have that guy help me out while he's chasing me. Sweet. Okay, so that's actually pretty nice, because that dude totally saved me. I was actually freaking out that he was gonna do some really serious damage. Thankfully, he didn't damage me too much. Now, the other problem is I think I might have screwed myself over by destroying the robot back there, potentially. Hope I didn't. Okay, yeah, so he's walking back, so that's good. But pretty convenient that he was actually over there, and I gotta drink water again. So far this bot hasn't attacked me, so it's kind of interesting that the other one decided to just freak out as soon as I attacked the one on the ground. But the reason I took that one out is because I think that as soon as you pass that section, that one actually like flips up into the air and just starts attacking you, so you might as well kill it earlier on. Otherwise you're just setting yourself up for a bad time. And I think... Oh, yep, there's one of these turrets right here. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did last time, just try and grenade the crap out of it. Now, later on, too, they also send some more of those flying bastards your way, which is never fun. But hey, it is what it is. Oh, damn. Okay, so that totally made me waste my grenade, unfortunately. But let's see how much damage I can do from here. So I guess not too much, unfortunately. Let's see if he ends up getting closer. He might not get too close. In that regard, they can actually be a little bit smart sometimes. But interestingly, they don't really like try and outflank you. They just kind of go side to side. Like, if they really wanted to make this super challenging, they would have had these bots, like, run circles around you, but then the game just would have been super, super annoying. Because these guys actually do a serious bit of damage. Even with my level of armor, which is, like, a pretty, you know, pretty high level of armor, it's still, they do a ton of damage to you. Like, one of those plasma hits is some pretty serious stuff, just like this guy right here is gonna, yep, so you can kind of see that they do a pretty serious amount of damage to you. I'm gonna just actually run the hell away from this dude. Because I don't want to deal with that right now. Let's see if I can take him from range, maybe? Let's see if this is still too far, or if this is actually okay. Might be able to take him from behind cover over here. So that wasn't too bad, although I still lost a bunch of health that I really would have rather not have lost, but that's fine. At least I'm gonna get some stuff out of this robot, so that's stuff that I can sell later on for hopefully good money. And then of course, you know, I don't have the capability of unlocking that terminal, so that's going to make life a little bit more difficult as well. Now the other big question is whether or not that repair bot is going to decide to get angry with me at some point and decide to try and take me on. That'll kind of be interesting, because if I get stuck in this area, they pretty much have me you know, they pretty much have me locked in, so it's just a shooting gallery at that point. They'll be doing me from both sides, and that's gonna be really crappy. I'm not looking forward to that at all. But at least there's some good stuff right there. Let's see. Yeah, so I want to see if I can use my rifle on that really far bot, and hopefully this guy right here doesn't get super angry with me right away. But he might as soon as I start attacking that little floaty bot back there. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for him to get a bit closer and then hope for the best here. Looks like I'm still not hitting anything, unfortunately. Oh, there's that guy again. So let's see, is he gonna follow? Oh, he might not actually follow, okay. Unfortunately, at this point, my rifle is in really bad shape. Okay, so the repair bot, or at least that one, is still not angry with me, but the other one has decided to go full force right at me, unfortunately. And man, this guy really hauls ass. I'm gonna try and see if I can keep dodging out of the way until I get back to these guys over here. And hopefully they protect me like they did last time. They might die, but I don't care, because it means less health loss for me. Yep. That's right. So, not too bad, actually. Not too bad. Managed to have these guys help me out in taking out the bot. I'm not gonna complain. Interestingly, this one still hasn't triggered itself, although it has been damaged fairly heavily at this point. But you know what? I don't particularly care, because I managed to do some damage to the other bot, and I'll take any damage that I can any time of the day. Let's see here. this bot looks like is still being a little floating asshole back here. I swear, like, some of the things that these bots do just don't make any sense. And there you go. So let's see, unfortunately his buddy's still back there. I wonder if I'll be able to take him on this range, or if I need to get closer still. Wow, so that's actually... You know what? There's another one of these guys lying around down here, and I bet you that as soon as I attack that one, the repair bot's gonna try and attack me again. I think that's how this works. So, let's see if I actually... Is this one... Okay, so that one's dead. This guy's just floating about. I still can't seem to get him for whatever reason. Let's see, so that one's still not popping up. But then we've got Mr. Floaty butt over here. Thankfully, though... Ooh, there's a backpack here. So that actually wasn't too bad, because I was able to take that guy out pretty quick. But then, you know, I gotta deal with this turret. I gotta deal with my broken gun, which is gonna keep jamming at this point. Yeah, so I'm just gonna have to keep getting jams left and right. And then, obviously, the range now is terrible. Oh man, yeah, so these guys... They can do some serious damage, but I don't really have much of a choice, I guess, in this case. I'm gonna see... Potentially, I might be able to get a little bit closer and lob some grenades at it, but I think given my terrible luck with this last time, it might not even be worth it at all. So, let's see, I guess my rifle is now officially out of commission. Might as well kind of just get rid of some stuff. Let's see, can I actually just destroy this? Yeah, I guess I can. And some of this stuff I do actually need to keep, though. That's the thing that sucks. Wow, I don't know how I missed that. Oh, actually... Okay, so that was kind of interesting. I guess this thing is already dead. Let's see when the turret pops back out again. It's kind of interesting that it hasn't come out just... There it is. Now he's pissed. So the nice thing is that I was able to get the security bot closer to me. But now, I've got like no ammo for this. So hopefully... It'll just take 2 more shots to take that guy out, and then maybe be able to shoot a grenade at this turret and do some serious damage. Man, that's like no range on that whatsoever. See if that'll make the turret go down, and maybe that I can sneak up on it. Because I don't really have any good weapons to deal with them at this range. Okay, so there he goes. And that should, in theory, now allow me to save if I head back over this way. So maybe, just maybe, if I time this decently, might be able to just get away with it. And unfortunately, he's still able to get me over here, it looks like. Oh man, yeah, so this is not going to end well. Or maybe it does okay. And it's not the best. I definitely wish I could have taken him out a little bit faster. With that said, though, not too terrible. I mean, I think I can probably salvage enough stuff to sell back so that it shouldn't be too much of an inconvenience, and thankfully I've got some food and some biostims that I can use, which means essentially that, you know, I'm kind of okay for this mission so far. Might as well just get this guy some grub now. And the food heals you, but it doesn't really heal you that much. I mean, it's not, you know, nearly enough for when you're, like, in a dire situation amidst, like, a really crazy firefight, so it's not exactly gonna, like, heal you up to, you know, to ridiculous levels or anything by that means, but it does okay. I'm gonna see if I hope this doesn't hurt me here, because it would really suck if I get hurt by the flame in this section. And I think at this point we're more or less done, so once I turn this emergency valve, that pretty much takes care of this mission. So let's see if I can't get past this section. Now, I don't recall if there's more robots that are in here. There might be, but I honestly don't remember. So this repair bot's just kind of down. I'm gonna see if I can't, like, I guess they don't want me using combat here. I'm gonna spam E just in case those monsters end up hiding around these areas, because I, again, don't remember. And I think this is where things get kind of sideways. So let's see, this guy's got some weapon parts, it looks like. So yeah, this is now the scouting party here. And then there's just some weirdness happening there.
The eyes are not here. There are no eyes here. In this valley of dying stars. In this hollow valley, broken jaw.
Alright, so that was actually kind of funny. This guy, like, tripped out for a second there and then just sort of exploded.
Places we grope together and avoid speech.
So let's go ahead and save, and I'm pretty sure that I think we either go straight this way, or maybe we don't. Let's see, I think I gotta... Yeah, I guess I think the doors might open here. That's basically it right there. I guess they seal on us. And here we have some monsters, it looks like, so I'm gonna see if I can get there. Basically, all you really need to do is just spam E, and that takes care of it. Unless you can't see them, in which case sometimes it's kind of makes it more difficult. But in this case, it actually wasn't too bad. There's just a bunch of them. That's to be expected because there's a giant anomaly right there. I mean, we're gonna have to walk through it, but I'm just gonna try and see if I can't potentially pick up some of the extra stuff that's lying around in this area. Just gonna go ahead and save here. Just spam the crap out of E again. Alright, so not too bad so far. I think there's gonna be another section where this guy's hiding. Yeah, so one more. Potentially maybe one more after that as well. And so I guess, actually, maybe this is the area where I missed the picture last time. Because I think I looked at pretty much all of them before. And so this one I must have missed my previous playthrough. So that's kind of cool then. Because if you get enough of those pictures later on in the game, you get to unlock another part of a mission, which is pretty neat actually, because it's not too much my speed, and it's actually a really neat mission because it takes place in sort of like a Insomnia world, sort of, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain until we actually get to that section. I actually didn't really understand that part too much, and I don't know if I'm just stupid or if it's because it's actually a little bit more complicated. But that part of the game is definitely like a trip. So let's see, we're just going to walk straight into the anomaly here. As you do. And so here we are. And we get to talk to this dude right here. And actually, I'm going to try and see. I don't think we get to explore too much in this area. Ooh, journal pages, so we definitely want to take those. Alright. So you can ask him who he is, and, you know, he basically says that he's just a shadow of his former owner, so he was a human at, you know, one point, and then, you know, you end up basically in these currents of Somnia. So it's just, from my understanding, Somnia basically exists all the time, kind of like the Force in Star Wars, I guess, and it's just everywhere. But, the sort of gist of it, it seems, is that people are kind of stuck in there because of the, I guess, sins that they commit throughout their life, from what little I can gather. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, there's still the sort of real world and there's the Somnia world, but I guess they're sort of intertwined in the end, and then, you know, eventually one kind of bleeds into another. So that seems to at least be how this works, as far as I can tell. But, you know, obviously being exposed to this high level of Somnia gives you, well, Somnia effects, and so you can't really stay too much. Now, apparently, there's also a girl that has a huge influence on this, who was like one of the first sort of patients in this lab, from what I recall, that started experiencing this, and then they experimented on her. A bunch of stuff kind of went sideways. Again, I'm just totally talking out of memory here. I don't remember that much. And she has also another big role to play later on in the game. So, you know, again, the guy kind of speaks in riddles, so it's kind of hard to understand them sometimes. But in essence, the whole ship is kind of, you know, having issues with Somnia and these ruptures that cause explosions and things like that around the ship, which obviously causes a lot of damage as well. And as you can see, the rupture, or these multiple ruptures, actually keep growing, and you will see that it gets to a pretty extensive level later on, or at least it did in my playthrough. Whether or not it does in yours, that might be a different story, but at least from what I can tell, this is how it is in this playthrough for me, or it has been at least for a while. So you can kind of ask him, you know, what Somnia is, and he tells you that essentially what I told you, which is that it's all kind of intertwined. You know, and it's kind of basically the idea is that people's souls are wandering in this sort of purgatory, and when you cross the purgatory in the real world, bad things tend to happen. So yeah, they call people like me the Unsleeper because we're actually able to interact with Somnia, but at the same time we're not actually sort of in that dream world. Alright, so that's kind of that. And then you get to ask about the girl, and she was apparently really afflicted by Somnia, and you know, basically you need to keep coming back into these streams of Somnia to interact and find out the whole you know, bit of the story to kind of see where it goes from there. And I guess this guy is just there as our guide, so that's essentially how it is. And this guy says that he's going to help you out. But we gotta dip out because at this point we have been affected by Somnia quite a bit. Now, I don't remember if in this part you end up waking up on a lab and the doctors talk to you, or if somebody just finds you and you make your way back and then tell the captain what happened. I don't actually 100% recall. So I guess we'll kind of find out. Yeah, so I guess you do wake up in the bed after this. And so, of course, they ask you a bunch of stuff about what happened and why you were there and why, you know, things basically went awry all over again. And so there's us, and you can just stand up by pressing W. And Dr. Redden actually plays a huge part in the next sort of part of the game, depending on the choices that you make. Ooh. Apparently, even though I said no, he still puts the injection in me. That's kind of interesting. Oh, maybe I can tempt my fate and try it. Interesting. Alright, so let's see what he says. I guess this guy used to work in the Insomnia labs. So that's kind of interesting. I actually don't remember that from my first playthrough. Alright. Yeah, so essentially once you go into Insomnia, I guess it's kind of like being in a vegetative state or a coma that you can't come out of. Alright. Alright, interesting. This part I kind of remember. Yeah, and so this is kind of the section where I guess you get to choose whether you team up with these guys to find out what really happened, because as I mentioned in my first stream, the government's trying to cover up a lot of the stuff that was actually happening on the ship. So, you know, you kind of get a chance to either join that community or decline them, and so the first time I actually joined up with them, although I really don't know how much of a difference it makes, or even if you do actually have the choice to decline them in the end, so we'll see. Alright, so he wants me to go talk to the captain, which is not too surprising, I suppose. And I'm actually, before talking to the captain, I'm going to talk to the quartermaster, I guess, or shopkeep, whatever you want to call this dude, because I've got a bunch of stuff to sell. I don't particularly care about what he has to say about it, because he's just going to get sold all this stuff. Now, I don't need the microchip recipe anymore. Yeah, so a bunch of this stuff is really none of my concern. And he can take it for all I care, because he just gets me money. Actually, what is this? So I probably want to keep those cartridges around for now, at least. I don't really think I care about the sword. But let's see anyway, what does this do? 34 damage. Let me actually cancel out of this. I want to make sure that my... Okay, so I don't really care about the sword at all. I think later on, you can actually meet a blacksmith in the game who has some pretty legit weapons that actually do some massive damage if you're a melee character. So, and I mean, this sword is like super expensive, so that's great, because I'm definitely going to need to buy some medicine pretty soon for all the BS damage that I took earlier. And let's see, what does this do? So that one's also terrible. Now this Barker pistol you can give to a little kid outside of the shop for the guy in Square of Glory. And then if you give him the pistol, you get a mask that you can then give to a bot later on. So you kind of want to hold on to this, because otherwise if you get rid of it and then you have to buy it back, it costs a lot of money. So that I might just end up keeping that in my in one of my frickin' closets or locker spaces, whatever you want to call those things. Let's see, so I'm going to probably get rid of some more stuff here. And I apologize to you guys for having to suffer through this. Unfortunately, inventory management is a part of the game, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Now, the battery stuff, I actually don't really know if I want to hold on to these guys. Probably put that one into my locker. And apparently I have a crap ton of 8.5mm cartridges. I have some 9mm. But I don't really actually care for these miniguns too much. Mostly just take up a bunch of my space. I actually already have a better toolkit than that too, so that doesn't matter. And then let's see what we can read here. Oh, I guess I don't care about that thing either. So I can get rid of quite a bit of stuff. Although with that said, still definitely carrying way too much for my character. So I'm going to need to offload a bunch of things. And I think I've actually already got an AI module, which means that if I have it, then that means I could sell the other one. Yep, so that's actually super great, because that means that I can sell that one for good money and not really have to worry about it. I'm also going to get rid of these UA cards since I don't really hack that much stuff, really. Actually, the journal pages I can probably read for the time being. It gives me XP. And XP is what you need to level up. For obvious reasons. And then, that was actually a really weird, creepy noise from the door opening. Borderline sounded like a dying seal. Okay, so I probably could sell some of this other stuff too, because I don't really need all of this. Although it's funny how much ammo I have that's still taking up a boatload of space on my character. But that's fine, because I don't really expect to be getting that much more extra stuff. On the other hand, I do need, I think it's simple weapon parts to repair my rifle. So I'm probably just going to get these 11 parts right here. And then sell them this in the meantime, because that's going to give me a bunch of money back. And I don't mind getting money back. Okay. So, now that we've done that, let's see, I guess for some reason it doesn't want me to do anything with my rifle, which is kind of strange. Yeah, it still doesn't seem to want to let me repair it. Definitely a little bizarre. There we go. Now it looks like I can finally fix it up. Actually, I want to do the same thing with my shotgun too. But I doubt I'm going to have enough parts for that. Okay, so I actually need the more complex weapon parts for that one. But that's no big deal, because this guy actually has some. And looks like I can split those into 9. You can see that they still haven't translated that portion of the dialogue, so unfortunately it's all in Russian there for those of you that don't speak it, so that's kind of a bummer. Alright, let's see, and I think that I should probably repair my pistol while I'm back here too, because this one's taking some serious beating as well. If I can even repair it, because I don't think this guy has any complex. Oh, I guess he does. And I believe that I only needed 6 of them. Costs a lot of money. It's almost like you can buy a brand new revolver eventually after doing all the repairs for these things. But hey, you know, you gotta keep your equipment functional if you want to be able to deal some decent damage to people as time goes on. And unfortunately, you end up spending a ton of time in these menus kind of just managing stuff, but hey, you know, it's an RPG, so that's what you gotta do. And I think at this point, I don't know if they actually send you straight off to the committee after talking to the captain or not, but let's see. Alright.
This begs a legitimate question. Can you and I become victims of this phenomenon? Somnic morphogenesis in the near range is a relatively rare occurrence. A person with genetic defects usually becomes an outcast in
Yep, so there's a guy that's going to meet you in a square of glory. And I guess that, at that point, is when you end up actually kind of continuing that next section. And so we might as well just go over there now. So that we can also get rid of the Barker pistol while we're doing this. And looks like there's that guy that you actually see in the prologue as well. Yep. Yeah, this guy is actually not a journalist, but you'll kind of find out about that later on. And he's actually pretty freaking powerful. And the guy kind of comes from like an older age, from what I recall at least. And he's basically like, he's kind of a super android or something along those lines. So not entirely human. But he hides that pretty well throughout. Now, I'm not gonna spoil any more, but you know, in essence, this dude plays either an enemy or a friend later on, depending on the choices that you make throughout the game. So it's kind of just one of those things where, you know, eventually, depending on whether you choose to side with certain factions, I guess he gives you a certain number of dialogue options that you can choose from there. And just like the girl that they mentioned, he actually plays a massive role towards the end. So you'll kind of see him throughout the campaign, just sort of doing things in the background, and he always kind of pokes fun at you for doing all kinds of things, and he's kind of always there to kick you when you're down, because I guess that's just how he rolls, you know, because he's just an ass like that. But by and large, the guy is kind of always just out there. Like, you never know where he's going to show up, and he always seems to kind of be there after the main missions happen, but not always. Sometimes he just randomly shows up to mess with your day, and it's not the best, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. And actually, this guy right here is the blacksmith. So, let's see. I think he actually gives you a mission. Yep, he says some merchants decided to take his cut, and then you can decide to help him out at that point. And looks like I gotta drink some water yet again. And this guy, I believe, is another shop owner. Actually, I didn't realize that I could go back here. But, oh well. That's kind of interesting. This dude always has some really funky things that you can buy off of him. Now, the nice part is that this old film, I believe, later on also comes in as a side mission, so you can purchase that from him, and I believe the guy in the movie theater actually asks you for it in one of the missions kind of down the road. So that's another really cool thing to watch out for there. But in the meantime, we are going to go see, I believe it's Haster or Haster, however the heck you pronounce his name. I never know for sure. And so the guys that are waiting for you are actually waiting for you over there, so you can kind of see all the dudes in armor that are normally not in that area. But we're actually going to go, I believe it's this way. I always get kind of confused in this area when I'm just running around. And we're going to give that kid a Barker pistol and see if we can convince him to not shoot the archaeologist. Because if the kid shoots the archaeologist, then you can't really buy some really cool gear in the game later on, which is a shame because the archaeologists actually have some pretty cool and neat gear. They sell like plasma pistols and stuff, which later on are pretty neat to have because they actually do some massive damage. But again, you know, depending on what happens, they may not be there around to sell that stuff to you. Apparently there's also a plasma rifle. I've never actually run into it, so I couldn't tell you. But let's give this kid a Barker pistol and see if we can't sway him to not kill the archaeologist. Alright, so let's see. Cool. So there's the mask. Let's see. Alright, there we go. So I think that should take care of the archaeologist problem. And this kid is really ugly. But I guess, you know, he lives in the ghetto, so that's not too much of a surprise there. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and talk to those guys and just kind of end the stream there for the time being until we head on to the next section. So there's gonna be a bunch of kind of extra side missions after this happens. because this is one of the sort of bigger turning points in the game. From here, a lot of stuff really starts to turn. A lot of gears are turning at this point. A lot of things happening, especially considering that now you're kind of learning more about the ins and outs of the conspiracy that's going on. And of course, you know, you being in the basically ghetto part of the station, you don't really get to be privy to the information that happens in the rest of the herb. And these guys are like seriously decked out, because you don't even get this type of armor until super late in the game, and even then it depends on the armor class that you are, and this armor is extremely heavy, so basically assault grade armor. So let's talk to this guy and see what the guy says. Let's see what we can do. Alright. So he basically tells you that the explosion is essentially one of those things that seems odd. Seems like the government potentially staged it for a certain reason, and they seem to have blamed it on the rebels, but you know, obviously these guys think that's probably not the case, because they think the rebels didn't actually end up doing it. Now again, I don't want to spoil anything, so we'll just continue with the text so far, because I feel like I've already given quite a bit of information away as it is. Alright, so yeah, this guy was basically given the good old, you know, roundabout when he got there, even though he was supposed to be given full access to investigate. Yep, and so of course, you know, the government story is not particularly convincing. Yep, so there's another incident, of course, which recently happened. Yeah, so he's essentially making a special team, which includes you, to help investigate this further, which means you're going to be digging up some people's skeletons and generally going to places that are pretty darn dangerous. Pretty interesting stuff. Alright. So yeah, basically he tells you you are essentially kind of a badass for surviving the explosion. And I guess it looks like they already gave you the injection earlier on, so I kind of missed that the first time around. I thought that they were going to, you know, give you a stroke injection and you had a choice of whether or not to take it, but I guess you really don't. So I think that either way, you pretty much have to go with these guys. Yeah, so he essentially tells you what you kind of already know. There are certain people that are unsleepers that, you know, you just found out about earlier, who are actually able to withstand the effects of Somnia for some time at least, before still eventually succumbing to it. But at least with some medicine that's available on the station, you're actually able to get around some of that. Alright, and then that's the whole IHAP situation where people die from. And I guess they're still studying the anomalies and trying to figure out what the deal with them is, because nobody really knows so far. Oh, I guess I do have a choice to actually refuse. So, yeah, let's see if I can just say no, I don't want to. Yep, so I'm gonna go with no. So let's see what happens.
The age of changes devours all who choose not to conform. Ashes.
I guess that
with
possibly
ashes.
ends the game right there, if you
The
choose that
names
one.
turn into noise. Citizen KZ0012 made their choice.
Oh,
Their
they kill
path
you.
has ended.
Wow, so you really don't have a choice but to continue the investigation with them. Because apparently they just decide to end you right there if you don't go with their choice. So that's actually a pretty good place to end then for this stream, and I'll pick it up in the next time that we see you guys, and we'll continue on with saying yes, which is the choice that I made the first time around. But you know, obviously this time around they decided to kind of be like, hey, we're just gonna kill you. So I guess that's one of the other endings that you can get in this game is if you say no at that point in the game, you just get killed off. So, you know, kind of like real life, right? I guess if you don't cooperate, they just off you. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in the next stream. So until that time, tune into my channel, see my other videos, and we'll hang out. And potentially, you know, just leave some comments in the video feed. And if you like the videos, if you want to see more of them, of course, obviously subscribe. And if you like them, just chime in. You know, feel free to drop by. I'm usually online most of the time, so just feel free to leave comments and so on, and I'll be able to respond to you in a short manner of time. So take